Back again, C4 Talks. Just kind of giving my thoughts on things. That's what series is going to be about. Haven't put out any clips or gameplay in a while. We'll do that eventually, but for now, this is the kind of content I want to make. Something different. We can talk about. And one of the things I want to talk about today is the LVT and Shopify Rebellion Pro League. Now, I was on the plane heading to DreamHack when I heard the news on Friday night. Absolutely blown away. I could not honestly in a million years guess that they were going to come out with a pro league. They were hinting at all kinds of stuff. So I was saying kind of some funny things in chat, you're bringing back Ola. He's going to be a caster and analyst. Dude, you got me wet there a little bit. But no, they announced the pro league. I was super excited, super happy to hear about that. Of course, I found out real quick in the chat through Eli the Ninja that they were going to be doing Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays around 5 p.m. Central Time, which would be perfect because they give me a couple hours to kind of get things together and then watch some great Halo, for those 3 days. And honestly, I really look forward to it. But there was some backlash, and we all read what they had laid out for the season. They wanted everybody to compete against each other. There was going to be 8 teams, 8 spots. Some of those spots were going to be chosen by how many points you had in the HCS, being the highest number possible. And, they wanted 21 games played, I think a split, or 21 matches, and those were all best of 7. So 21 times 7. That's how many games you would have had to play in a split. And there was going to be 3 splits, I believe, leading up to a Shopify Rebellion LAN in Los Angeles starting on September 11th, which is a Thursday, and concluding on Sunday night. So I was really excited to hear all that news, and I got to thinking during the weekend what's going to happen with scrims, because teams really need to be able to scrim each other, because even though you got this as practice with the Pro League, those are high pressure situations. You're playing for money, you're playing for status, and you can't really work on things necessarily. You can, but it's very difficult. But scrims kind of help you in that department, because you can experiment with plays, you can experiment with your movement or your shot or whatever you want to do, and you can kind of see what works and doesn't work, and then film review that. And teams need that time. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are pretty crucial days for scrimming. As we all know, a lot of scrims happen throughout the week, and they'll do 14-game scrims. Now, the best of 7 is kind of like a scrim, but one team, let's say if it was like a 4-0 series, well, one team doesn't get to play the other 3 games, or both teams don't get to play the other 3 games for practice. And so, knowing Halo players, they could scrim afterwards or go play matchmaking, but they'll probably go play matchmaking most likely. So scrims are kind of important, and Wednesday through Friday, it takes up a huge chunk of the week. So you'd only have really Mondays and Tuesdays, with Saturdays and Sundays being online opens and probably days of rest for these players. It didn't really give you a lot of time to fit scrims in all honesty, especially with Halo players' schedules. I'm sure pro players have plenty of time, but it's Halo we're talking about. There's a lot of issues of timing and people's schedules and stuff. But then there was some backlash. We saw some clips from Formal. I think we heard some from Snakebite, and I'm trying to think who else. I know APG and Maniac have chimed in at some point on their Pod Drop podcast over on the Optic Audio Network on YouTube. And, yeah, they didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that you had to play so many games for so little of an incentive to play, because you're only playing for 50,000. During the week, LVT would be primarily benefiting off of that, getting ad revenue and making pretty much profit. Although there's some cost, I'm sure, that they got to put out, because they're paying their player or their talent to run the tournament. Being observers and admins and stuff like that, and hosts and casters. And so Formal didn't like that. He thought he was, the pro players were going to be getting milked in this situation. Nice. And that never really occurred to me at the time. I knew it was going to interfere with scrims, and he did bring that up. Wow, dude, but, I think now we've all heard the feedback, and LVT has responded. They're going to rework this whole thing, which I think it'll be just as great. It's not going to really change much on the gameplay. The gameplay is going to be phenomenal. We all know that. And the broadcast will be excellent. Top tier. Love LVT. 100% support them. I think the pros could have been a little bit more professional. Formal didn't have to necessarily do it on stream. He could have said it in the DM. I know Tools had some back and forth with him, but I think that could have been handled a little bit better. Personally, it is what it is. It wasn't the end of the world, and I'm hoping everybody's still cool with each other at the end of the day, right? We're all here for Halo. We're big family, one big family, and we just want to enjoy Halo together, right? And so, yeah, I think the time is coming. We're going to hear here soon, probably in the next month or so, what LVT's got planned. I'm sure they're working out the details day in and day out to make sure it is solid as can be and as fair to the pro players as possible. Although these pro players will be making ad revenue on their own stream, they're not going to be necessarily getting paid each day to play. They do have that 50K, and I think, to me as a competitor, I know I'm not a pro player. I don't get paid. I don't have that mentality of a pro player per se. Like, I don't know what their thoughts are because I'm not in that position to have those thoughts. So I know that for me personally, 50K would be more than enough. This is practice. This is real practice because there's something on the line, so people aren't going to be like scamming you in scrims like they would in scrims and slayers and playing slow and baity, or playing too fast and open. They're going to have that play style that you would normally see probably on LAN, although it's not LAN. We know online doesn't matter to a lot of people, but it is what it is, right? So I'm looking forward nonetheless to seeing what happens and how they present the new structure and format, considering what feedback they got. And so, yeah, appreciate you guys sticking around. If you got any thoughts about the Pro League, please leave them in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that cool stuff. And just look out for more of my C4 talks. I'm going to try to make these, consistently throughout the months of the season, and just letting you guys know my thoughts on various topics. So if you got any topics you want me to cover, make sure you leave those in the comments as well, and I'll see you in the next one.